Hello, my name is Matej Adamek, and I'm going to talk about the Syrian refugee crisis and its effect on involved countries and their economies. First of all, we have to understand that the main force driving Syrians out of their country is a civil war which broke out after unsuccessful attempts to overthrow the totalist regime of al-Assad family during the Arab Spring of 2011. Multiple different rebel groups continued to resist the government while fighting each other. This became a perfect opportunity for the jihadist organization known under the abbreviation ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, to join in and spread their influence. In result of all these events, part of the Syrian population decided that the living conditions in their home country were unbearable and that they will leave. But where? The first apparent answer to this question is to the nearest place that can be considered safe from a long-term perspective. That's why most of them apply for asylum in Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, and Iraq. However, with the increasing number of refugees, most of the host countries started to struggle in satisfying their basic needs. Jordan has, for example, accepted over 625,000 refugees, and directly spent over $1.2 billion in order to take care of them. Also, the continuous influx of people has shifted the demand for many necessity goods to levels the Jordanian producers are not able to satisfy. Among other goods and services, this concerns education, food, energy, water, and housing. Additionally, despite not being legally allowed to work, the refugees even more complicate the situation of the market for jobs, which has already had an unemployment rate of 12%. In result of this, more and more refugees start thinking of moving on to other countries where they might be better off. The next best option is to choose a relatively easily accessible country that has economic power to accept people who are willing to work and desperately need a new home. At this point, the refugees turn into economic migrants. Their paths lead to countries of European Union with an aim of settling in Germany, Sweden, or some other developed Western country. The process of refugee deciding to travel to Europe is not as easy, though. There is a risk of dying from exhaust on the way across the land, or drowning while crossing the sea. Getting arrested while trying to cross any of the borders outside of the Schengen area is also highly probable. Another negative aspect of leaving the proximity of homeland is the dispersion of Syrian nation across Europe and Middle East. Only the individuals who have given up on faith in the early end of the civil war are willing to undertake all challenges of the travel. On the bright side, they are motivated by possibility of acquiring higher standard of living than they would ever have chance to reach in Syria. Unfortunately for them, Europe collectively sees this as a potential threat. It is mostly because of religious reasons, fear of their own employment, and the stability of their social systems. Currently, the biggest issue is faced by the border states of the European Union. Because of a law called Dublin Regulation, the migrants are not allowed to leave the first EU country they have entered. This results in their over-concentration in the border states. From an economic perspective, though, the influx of refugees could partially help EU solve the problem of progressively rising age dependency ratio. This value is equal to the number of people in post-productive age divided by total population. This chart shows Syrian dependency ratio has been very low compared to the EU. Moreover, it had been declining until 2011, only turning in its trend due to the armed conflict. As seen in the following table, European Union is able to accept all the refugees asking for asylum much more easily than any of the countries actually affected by the crisis. As a matter of fact, it could accept all of the 4 million refugees without having to go through significant economic issues. On the other hand, it is true that mass redistribution of Syrians across Europe would result in the end of their nation. All in all of the issues have to be at least partially covered in order for the crisis to come to an end. Firstly, it is important that the governments of the First World support countries in proximity of Syria financially in order to help them provide asylum and viable conditions to as many refugees as possible. Secondly, European Union should start accepting all migrants who are willing to work or refugees who need urgent medical help. Most of all, however, it is important that the original cause of the crisis, the civil war, is brought to an end. As unrealistic as it sounds, it is the only real solution that would return the state to the nation and the nation back to the state.